Welcome back to another episode of More Than Beauty with Daniel Mason Jones. And today, my dear friend Terri, listen, there are people that you meet along your life journey that absolutely change your life. And in the moment you meet them, you may not understand that they may become a lifelong friend, or maybe it's somebody just to teach you a simple lesson. But I can tell you in this situation, this is someone that I will call a friend for the rest of my life. Welcome to the episode, Terri.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. Thank
I
you.
am so honored that you are carving out time in your busy world to hang out with me and to share a little bit of hope and inspiration with the world today. So, we're going to be talking about something kind of deep here. If you were listening last week, we had episode 20, and we talked about a young lady named Lily and her mother, Jennifer. And today, I'm going to share something really deep with all of you on this podcast that not even Terri knows. And it's truly because of Terri and her family. So, Terri, I want to get started and just talk about you and how amazing. And I know your personality. Like, I'm going to brag on you because you're so strong, and just how you get up and face the world every day. Tell me, like, what is it that fuels you just to get up and face the world?
What I would say that I get up with a lot of optimism and just hoping that, like, let's have a good day. I hope this is going to be a good day. So I think I was almost programmed in a happy way. I sort of was my set point. I skew happy.
I love that.
And so you'll find out that I've been through some really awful times, as many people have, but I sort of have this set point that I tend to gravitate toward,
I love
which
that.
I'm just sort of born with. And I'm lucky in that. I'm very lucky that that's part of my content, I think.
So would you say that there are people that are just naturally born more positive than others, or do you think that's something that we have to work on as we progress through life?
I definitely think that some people are more positive than others. I also think that you can sometimes just an encounter, like how much we mean to each other, or just something that's said, or something that'll just hit, like, oh wow, I can look at it this way.
Yes, absolutely. That's amazing. So, for all of you listeners, the interview that we're about to open up, you know that I'm very passionate about a lot of organizations giving back in charity. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts that each and every one of us were placed here on this earth to love, serve, and care for one another. And as we bring you this deep story, me getting to become friends with Terri and how it all came about, Terri has been through some pretty amazing times that, a lot of us probably couldn't even withstand. So when I talk about her strength and her grace and how she navigates through life, it's truly amazing. Um, I remember last year, or actually it was 3 years ago, I think. You may have to correct me on my timetable here. I was at the salon and I walked into my office for just a brief moment between clients, and I saw that I had a memo posted to the board in the office. And it was one of my clients, Ellen. Ellen is a lovely lady. And the message, all it read was Ellen in her last name and a phone number, and has a question regarding a brain tumor. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, not Ellen. And so I called Ellen immediately because I love her. And she went on to tell me the story of her friend and her daughter's best friend. They had a challenge, and that ended up being your family. And so I remember making arrangements and phone calls to come that evening to the hospital to help you out. So give us a little bit of backstory before I tell how this all kind of opened up. Let's talk about Leah in that day.
What happened, what got us to the hospital, our family, we're a family of four, my husband and my daughter Leah and son Sam. We were on vacation in California, and Leah had been having headaches. Actually, she was with Ellen's daughter. Can I say her
Yes.
first name? Sophie. They were together and on a weekend retreat, and Leah started not feeling well. So Sophie was a little bit sort of a part of it from the very beginning, but Leah was having headaches, and we were on vacation in LA, and she was taking a picture in front of the Hollywood sign. Her brother Sam was taking the pictures, and her smile was crooked.
Mm.
And I called her doctor back home, and he said, you need to have that checked. So she went and had an MRI. and bam, there's a giant mass. I called it a giant mass on her brain. And we went into the emergency room at UCLA. She had 5 brain surgeries. We weren't told it was cancer at the time, and I wouldn't say that it was cancer because no one told me it was cancer, so I wasn't going to say it was cancer. So she had 5 brain surgeries, and she had to have this cast on her head, and she had this huge knot in her hair, and she had very, very long hair, and she loved her hair. She took great pride in her hair. And I remember when we were in LA, we would try to get that knot out, and my husband said, like, it's something he felt he could control. He would just like, I can make her better. I can do something to help. And he would just try and try and try. And we couldn't get that knot out. And when Ellen found out and she contacted you, and which is how we met, that you're a very busy man, and you're a very talented man, and I'm coming, and you just showed up in our room to get the knot out of Leah's hair.
So I remember driving there, and I had so many emotions. You know, we've dealt with a lot of childhood cancer with our friends, and at the time I didn't know you all, and I was nervous, you know, insecurities. I'm going to walk into a hospital during the holidays, you know, the whole entire hospital is decorated. And I'm walking through this children's hospital thinking, this isn't fair that anyone is here, especially during the holidays. And I found your room very easily. And I remember walking in, and it was you, your husband opened the door. It was you, your husband, your son eventually came in, and your mother-in-law and father-in-law were there. And I met Leah, and she laid there in the bed with this long hair that you speak of, and I saw the knot. And I remember I was like, I'm not a person that likes to disappoint people. I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I hope that I can get this knot out of her hair, and especially in a pain-free way. And I looked at Leah, and you all helped her get into a chair, and we started promptly just working. And I remember taking my rat tail comb, and I would just pick little piece after little piece after little piece. And under my breath, I was saying prayers. I'm like, I hope I'm not hurting this girl. And I hope that I'm providing some sort of help to this family. And your family were so amazing. I remember you trying to feed me. I was like, I'm not here to eat. I just want to love this young lady. And I asked her, I was like, Leah, like, your goal is to keep your hair right. And she says, yes. She nodded her head, yes. And I was like, I remember saying, well, I will spend the night here if I need to, in order to get this knot out. And so you all were so amazing. Just seeing how your family unit was so beautiful, how you all cared for each other so deeply. And so finally, about 3 hours later, I do believe that knot came out, and I had forgotten my mirror. I felt like such a crazy man being a hairdresser, not having a mirror. And Leah pointed out very quickly that we could use our cameras on our phones to see it. And I was like, that's right. So I remember that moment. And I know you remember that moment as well. Her reaction to having her long hair, it wasn't gone. We didn't have to cut it off. And she smiled. And I'll let you pick up the story there.
And it was, as I told you, Daniel, it was like the first time she smiled in a very long time. And it was a genuine vintage classic Leah smile. And I just hadn't seen that face. And I pulled you out of into the hallway to tell you that. And we had just met, and I wanted you to know, and I know it meant a lot to you, that you brought that out in her, and you softened her.
And it was in that moment you and I shared in the hallway, and I could feel your pain. You were hurting, as any parent would, and it was uncertain what was happening. And knowing that your daughter, you want to fix your child. If there's something wrong, even if it's a stuffy nose, you want to make them better because you don't want your child to suffer with anything, especially in this particular situation. And I remember giving you a hug, and I told you that I worked with an organization here in Atlanta through charity, and that in my heart, like, I knew that I was placed here to love people in a different way. And my gift that I've been given is hairdressing. I'm an artist. I love to give that back, but I use that vehicle to care for people. And I remember saying to you, and this is something that I've not told anyone. So I remember saying to you in that moment, I was like, you know, what I get to do is more than a haircut. It's more than a color. I get to love people. It's more than beauty. And that was where the name of this podcast was actually born, was with Leah. So, um, the story that I told in episode 20 was the first person that I knew that opened my eyes to this. And now the podcast, here we are with you. And I'm just so grateful. Leah's impact, me only having met her the one time will last with me forever. And, I know that's happened for so many other people that she's known or met, that your family, that everybody loves you all. What is one thing that, if you could explain Leah, what was her spirit like to everyone that's listening?
Leah was very easygoing and very genuine and very loving. She was, she made people feel good. She knew how to disarm people and just make them feel good. She was a bit of a perfectionist. She worked really hard. It was interesting to watch her like go from, I mean, she would stay up all night doing a project, which I try to help her on it sometimes, be like midnight, 1 o'clock. I'm like, Leah, can you just stop? It's good enough. Like I was the parent that would say, it's fine, stop. Would you please stop working? Um, and so then she got this brain tumor, and I failed to say this in the beginning, but she had 5 surgeries in LA, and something happened during one of the surgeries. There was like a little incident, it hit something. And so when she left LA and came back to Atlanta, we had lived in the hospital in LA for about a month. Excuse me, I can't clear my throat. And then we got to Scottish Rite. She had lost like the right side of her body. She had lost a lot of ability just from the surgery. So she went from being a perfectionist to someone that had to really work hard, and she worked and worked and worked to get everything back. And she did, she got it all back. She got to a point where you wouldn't know that she was going through anything. So she was hardworking, and she had a lot of different friend groups, and loving and sweet.
I love that. And that was the one thing that I would stay in touch with. I would text you all the time, and I felt like I was borderline stalker.
Oh,
But I just immediately had a deep care for all of you. And I would message your mother-in-law on Facebook, and I would get up-to-date reports to find out how Leah was doing. And I remember there was a cure childhood cancer. There was a luncheon that we support every year, and it's called Quiet Heroes. And that the Quiet Heroes are typically the mothers of the children, because you mothers, you're behind scenes, you're fighting, you're trying to hold the family together, you're trying to hold down your career, and you really are the unsung hero. And my client, Chris Glavin, she started that charity years ago, and I was unable to attend this particular one. And Jody, my husband, went to it, and I remember that you and Mickey were there. And I was like, please make sure to meet them. These people are very special to me. And so there was texting going on. And when you all had met, I felt so happy that you got to know each other. But during that time, that was a big move, that you stepped out to go to a luncheon like that with so many people. And I'm glad that you did, that you could gain hopefully some strength from a community of people that have been through crazy situations. But Leah was struggling at that point.
yes.
And I think that was late September. So at that point, Leah was, because she passed away in October, correct?
Yes.
So, just being able to have these communities of people, and I love what you're sharing about Leah. You're saying that she's like this perfectionist. She would push herself, and I read that she had actually switched schools. She went to a larger school, and then she switched to a smaller school where she actually didn't even know anyone. With all of these other changes going on in her life. So this talks about her tenacity and how strong she actually was as a person. What was that like for her to change schools?
Well, she knew Sophie, and she had another very dear friend there. But for the most part, it was a small Jewish school, and it was high school only, and most people knew each other and had been there throughout. So she entered as a junior,
Right.
and it took a lot of guts. And she early on, within about the first few weeks of being at the new school, she decided, it was her idea, that she wanted to stand up in an assembly and tell everybody, just let people know her story. She said everyone at my old school knew because, you know, it was a big drama. She just, you know, we went away for Thanksgiving break and then she didn't come back for
Right.
months and she had a brain tumor. But she wanted people at her new school to know who she was. And she stood up and just gave this just beautiful talk from the heart talk about, she told her story and she said she just wanted you to, she said, don't be afraid of me. You can ask me anything. You can just, I just want, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Just be
And that's
yourself. And she didn't
powerful.
want to be treated in a special way. She said, I remember she said, before this happened, I didn't know how to talk to anybody that had cancer. I want you to, like, please, you can, it's just, I'm a person and I'll tell you anything. I don't have anything to hide. So it was, she just inspires me. I use the present tense. I think about her and how she went through all this and it just elevates me in the way that I want to carry on
I love that. You know,
what
there's
she
so
brought.
many people that they go day to day, they exist. And that's something that I've always been so clear, but in particular in 2020, we all are given a gift every day. We're given a gift every day to give back, to pour into people. I could give so many examples of people that do that around me, and I'm so grateful for all of you. But it's like we're given this gift and it's how we choose to show up. You know, we can't control everything that's happening around us, but we can control how we react to it. And this is a prime example. She was given one of the hardest tests in life, and she showed up, she pushed through it. She didn't just push through it, she won the game, like changing schools, and she graduated. She was accepted into multiple universities. This is a powerhouse kid. You know, a lot of people, if they get a migraine headache, they're stumped for a week. And this girl, talk about perseverance. Where do you think she developed this spirit from?
I think that she was, I do think that you're kind of born with it. I do think I have to credit our family to an extent that we sort of decided how we're going to face it. And we're a very strong family. We love each other very much. And um, it's who she is and who she was and how it kind of fed itself.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, yes, you have cancer. Yes, you have brain cancer. And as it turns out, the diagnosis was a very difficult. Brain cancer in general is a very difficult one. We never talked about. She had glioblastoma, which is what help me. Who had glioblastoma?
McCain.
Yeah, and
No,
Joe Biden's son.
yeah. It's an aggressive, and typically, from what I understand, and one of my friends passed away last May 24th from the same cancer. She was an amazing soul also. It's typically a 2 to 3 year prognosis from time that you're diagnosed. And I know they've made some advanced treatments, you know, with I don't know if Leah went through this, where they shave your head and they put where the magnets pull from left to right and front to back. And that stops the tumors from building or the cells from gathering together. But you can only do that for so long. And that's why we're so adamant about donating so much of our money and time back to cure childhood cancer, is because we need the research so that families don't have to go through what you've been through. You know, this is not a natural order. When you look at the process of life, you know, we expect to lose our grandparents, we expect to lose our parents, maybe you'll lose a sibling or a spouse, but this is out of order, so to speak. This, to lose your child, is completely out of order. And so we just fight and fight and fight. And when I fall in love with families like yours, it just pushes me to fight harder, because it's crazy. Let me ask you, going back with Leah, what is your funniest moment, or can you hear her laugh, or like something that just really, on a day that you need that, what is something that brings you joy or brings you peace thinking about her?
A very funny thing to me that sort of embodied our last when she was sick. Um, she had a bad MRI in April, and they didn't think that she'd be able to even graduate high school in May, but she ended up having two separate high school graduations. Her school gave her own little private ceremony because I didn't think she'd make it. It was the most lovely lovely experience. It was our rabbis came, and it was just beautiful. And then she actually made it to the big ceremony, and her walking across the stage, and it was hard. It was very moving. But as you know, then time was passing, and she started deteriorating. And I remember once Leah and I loved the Survivor. It's one of
Mhm.
my favorite shows. I think I love that show. It's like brings out such the very base of people
Yes.
being able to, like, you want to win, you want to beat them off, and how do people act and strategize? And we love that show. We actually watched 34 seasons of Survivor.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I mean, we would just sit up and watch. And I remember like asking Leah to turn on the television, or we had this kind of complicated remote. She said, Mom, you're going to have to learn how to do this. I'm going to die.
Oh,
And it was a fun light moment.
she took it. That's Leah.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry.
So if you could be granted one wish today that you could spend one more day with this amazing young lady, what would you do with her?
I would walk the streets of New York, see shows. That's what
Oh,
she loved.
I know she was definitely a Broadway girl. I remember I know she was like, she loved Wicked, she loved Adina Menzel. And if I'm not mistaken, Adina Menzel actually either came and visited her at the hospital. Yeah, in LA. That's so amazing. Talk about
Yeah.
great people.
Yes.
And then I think in her service, didn't you all play 525,600 minutes?
Yes. She performed in Rent at her school, and her mind was not great, and she pulled it off. But Adina Menzel, I want to just say that Leah turned 16 in the hospital at UCLA. It was her 16th birthday. And one of the nurses knew a friend of Adina Menzel's, and just made that connection and said, we've got this patient. She's just out of nowhere got diagnosed with a brain tumor. She's turning 16. You think you could send her a message or record or something? And Adina said, can I come meet her? And she came to the hospital. She spent about an hour sitting in our room, sat on the bed, just chit chat. And
I mean, how
that's
special. Talk
that's one of the beautiful things that happened. And and we had a lot of beautiful things and a lot of beautiful experiences. And I think that um, Leah's cancer brought out the absolute best in so many people. There was so much beauty, and Leah recognized it. And she was a teenage girl. But it changed. I think that the cancer just maybe it sped up the absolute deep inner beauty in her
That's amazing.
to appreciate what she was around. Yes, to
It's
appreciate.
powerful that in moments of adversity and chaos that humans do show they're amazing. I've often joked I don't watch the news because it stresses me. I don't even like to watch the Weather Channel. It makes me so nervous. But I've joked about that. I'm like, there are so many amazing people in this world, and sadly, they don't make it to the news station. You don't hear that Adina that she showed up to do this. Like, you don't hear these stories, but we have to lean on each other. I saw a quote. I was talking about this, I think, before we recorded. If not, I'm repeating myself. But I was in a store, a boutique on Sunday, and this plaque was so wonderful. What was written on it, it says, we are all here simply walking each other home. And so whatever that means to you, I think that's so powerful. Like, we all have a responsibility. We all have a unique gift. We all have a unique purpose. And it's up to us to share that with the people that need it most in the times they need it most. And so for you and your family, for Leah, like, you all have done that in such a big way. I know I've talked about Cure Childhood Cancer. Are there any other organizations that you would love to maybe mention here that people, if they feel a sense to donate money, or maybe they're looking for a charity, something that you might would recommend in Leah's honor?
Sure, Cure Childhood Cancer, absolutely. There's another group, Ian's Friends Foundation, that was started by a couple whose 2-year-old son was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and they started this foundation. They started it in their backyard. They would have like just a night, and was a fundraising event, and now it's become this gala, and they have it once a year, and everyone gets decked out. And Leah actually spoke at the gala 2 or 3 years ago. But they fund they fund groundbreaking research. They like try to connect doctors from, researchers from all around the world and get their ideas and bring out their ideas and unite them. I think there's a I don't know if this is correct. This was said to me, and I think it's correct. So don't quote me, but there can be competition. Like, I want to be the one to find it, and they bring that down and get people to just talk and share their ideas. We were also fund Cure Search is another group that we have gotten involved with. They have this. It's called the Ultimate Hike. It's a 30 miles in one day hike.
Wow.
That my son Sam and I did. We finished it, and Leah met us at the finish line. And it was when we knew that she wasn't going to make it. It was a beautiful, meaningful moment. And Cure Search actually reminds me of Ian's friends. The same idea. They fund. Children should not get cancer.
No.
It's just not meant to be. And as far as funding, very little funding goes towards children specifically, and children need different treatment than adults.
They do.
So
I think that's something that a lot of people don't know. As we have donated and been so involved, it's less than 4% of federal funding.
yes.
To all cancer donations. There's all the organizations out there, but less than 4% of that money is actually allocated toward the children. And there's not been a lot of breakthroughs in technologies with chemotherapies and radiations for these children. So that's why we are so passionate. And if you drive through my neighborhood, anytime from like July through now, there still are gold bows on so many mailboxes just saying, hey, we know what the pink ribbon stands for, but the gold bow signifies Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, which is the month of September. So there's definitely been some strides being made there, and opportunities like, social media platforms like this, where people will share and really help other people. People like your family, you need this help and you need the support during the time that you can't be all things to all people. So in closing, what would Leah say to all of our listeners today in the world that we live in today? With all of the divide, with all of what seems to be hate, what would Leah say to all of us?
Be nice. It wouldn't be like profound or a bit. It would just be nice.
It's profound.
She would just be nice, be kind.
It's so simple. Life is so short. We have to live each day as if it's our last, and really just show up for other people. Terri, I am eternally grateful for you, your friendship, your family, you're just who you are in the community and what you stand for. I'm so grateful to know you, and I'm excited that now all of my friends get to know who you are as well.
I am so honored, and what you did for us, and the way that you just stopped what you were doing, and it was just a gift. I'm going to be there. I remember talking to you on the phone, and you were booked until 7:30, and you were on your 9th, 10th hour already of work, and it was just a given. I'm going to be there. It's just who you are, and I appreciate you. We appreciate. I mean, what you meant. What just you walking in that door and what you brought to her. You are one of the beautiful parts of all of it.
Well, I think you guys are as well. I remember your father-in-law, as I was walking out of the room, he says, "Sir, in our religion, we call this a mitzvah." And I was like, I know what that means. It's a good deed. For all of you that don't know, it's a good deed. And I do believe that you need to do one mitzvah a day, especially here we are. Happy Hanukkah to your family, by the way. Here we are in the middle of the holiday. Actually, we're 2 days away from it being over. But you're so amazing. Thank you for your time. I'm going to link the charity links below in the show notes. So if anyone wants to make a donation on behalf of Leah, or in our previous episode 20 with Lily, please do that, because these families need your support. Terri, much love from my home tours. For all of you listening, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.